Hi there, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Richard, and this is going to be the introductory flight, which is the first flight that a student pilot takes. And I'm sitting in my X-Plane Diamond DA40 with a Garmin cockpit, and we're just getting ready to do our final checklist here. Let's go inside for a minute here. Let's see what we got. Okay. Um, so the we're at the hold short line of the active runway, runway 4. You can, let's see, yes, you can see that the heading bug is right here, set to 04. And the altitude bug is set to 3,000 right there. And we're going to verify that the flaps are in the takeoff position. And if you really want to see them, well, maybe the other one shows. Okay, there you can see that the flaps are in the takeoff position. All right, good to visually verify it. So now I'm going to check the autopilot. I'm going to look right here. Oops, how about right there? And I'm going to turn on the autopilot for heading hold. And then I'm going to turn on the vertical speed hold. And you can see I've preset the vertical speed hold to 900 feet per minute. And that's what I like. On the takeoff, we're going to climb to 3,000 feet, and we're going to do that at about 900 feet a minute. Okay, so we'll go back out to here. And so the autopilot is now off. The master switches are on. You can see them right there. And let's see, the ignition switch is in the both position. The for-flight planning is complete, and that for-flight planning matches what's in the um, uh, multifunction display over here. We're going to take off from here. We're going to go out here to a fix called Lyman, which is an inbound to runway 22. We're going to fly over here to Pelham, come past the downtown. I'm sorry, the G. Yeah, that's the downtown airport. And down here we have the Donaldson Field Airport. We're going to go past the Donaldson Field Airport to a fix called Diana, and that is a NDB. We'll come over here to Ox Bay, which is the initial approach fix for the ILS into runway 4, and that this Molde is the final approach fix. So that's our plan, and that is set in both the uh, Garmin and in my for-flight. So let's see. COM1, is it set to the tower frequency? Yes. Okay, it's set to the tower frequency, and we currently have the nav frequency set to the Spartanburg VOR. And so this is the point at which we would call for our taxi clearance. And so we'll assume we've done that. And if we've received our taxi clearance, we would have first acknowledged it. Note the time of day is 10:13. And we'll look over here, verify nobody's coming down final, nobody's on a runway, and we're set to go here. Let's. Oh, the transponder is still in standby. We need to set the transponder to right here. Transponder set to altitude and back. So now we're at 1200, and it's going to broadcast our altitude. Transponder of 1200 means we're VFR. And so we got the transponder set. We have to make sure the trim is set to takeoff. So I'll look back here, and you can see it's not set to takeoff because there's the takeoff position and it's not set. So I'll set it to takeoff. Now it's set to takeoff. The fuel is in the left tank. We're receiving fuel from the left tank. We won't need to switch fuels during this flight. Okay, you can see my um, prop lever is full forward, my mixture is full forward, and my throttle is in idle. All right, so last thing I want to do is set the timer, and we'll start the timer. Okay, timer is started, and we are set to go. Releasing the brakes, putting up the throttle.
Approaching runway 04. Entered runway 04. 10,900 feet remaining.
Okay, I have dueling four flights. I'm going to have to turn the volume on one of them down here. All right, we are out on the runway. I'm going to set the brakes. And the reason I have two four flights running is because one is giving me my checklist while the other one is showing me where I am flying wise. Okay, so let's do the normal takeoff procedure, which is the mixture is full, the prop lever is full forward. The throttle is, we'll release the brakes here. The throttle is going very slowly to 100% power. Okay. And the takeoff speed is about 59. There we go. We're 59 and in the air. We're going to hold about 65 here. We're going to get a positive rate of climb, and we are more than enough to put the flap up. Now we'll climb at 75, and we will turn on the autopilot. Let it climb at 900 feet a minute. And at this point, I'm going to pull the blue lever, which is the prop lever, back until you can see right here. I'm going to pull it back to about 2,400 RPM. So the blue lever controls the RPM. The throttle is full forward. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull the throttle back. We don't need to be 100 knots here. I'm going to pull it back till we stay about 100 knots, a little less, maybe 95, as we climb to 3,000 feet. Okay, the multifunction display shows we're on course to Lyman. And that beep you just heard means we just passed 2,000 feet to level off at 3,000 feet. So in the normal checklist, we'd turn the fuel pump off here. We're not going to because we're staying in the pattern and coming back around to land. And the landing light I'm also going to leave on. And the throttle is whatever you want it to be. But since we're about to level off, I'm going to leave it right where it is. And the mixture control lever will stay full rich throughout the flight. Looking at all the engine instruments on the multifunction display here, everything looks in the green. And we are trimmed. All right, leveling off. Power is coming back. I'm going to not let it get too fast here. Okay. But we'll fly about somewhere between 110 and 115 miles an hour. And we'll watch for two things here. can watch the little airplane over here on the multifunction display get to Lyman, and at the top of the um, just above the autopilot readings, it'll tell you when I get to Lyman. Uh, it'll give you a countdown, and it'll tell you what direction to turn at. That will turn into about maybe 270, something like that. It'll tell us in a second. My ForeFlight says I'm going to turn to 271. Okay, pulling the power back a little bit more, staying about 115. There we go, 12 seconds. Because this is a tight turn, I'm going to go ahead and start my turn. And it says 261. I'll believe that when I see it. Okay, I'll turn to 261. You can see right here that says 261 as the heading. And we'll see how well that works. Okay, verifying we're in level flight now. The flaps are up. The airspeed looks good. And we're heading to Pelham. Okay, notice here that it says it's 249 to get to Pelham now, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to 249, and that'll give us a better intercept to Pelham. So as we get to Pelham, we're going to turn what I guess you would call a downwind. And that will be about a heading of about 215. Again, we'll watch for the this to indicate when it's time to turn. You can see over here we're getting fairly close to, here we go, 12 seconds. Let's go to heading 220. Okay, 220. There's the heading 220, and we'll watch for this to make any change and see where we end up. Okay, it says 221. We'll go to 221 right there. All right, and hold that. So we're on course. If you want to look here, okay, you can see where this magenta line is now active. We may be slightly left of the course, but I'm okay with that. And we'll go back to the primary flight display. And I do think I'll go stay at 221. And maybe even 222. I'll go to 222. Because we are slightly inside. It's just going to mean that we, when we get over to here, we're going to have a fairly tight turn here, and so we'll see how well that works. And when we get to the NDB called Diana, and we head to Axe Bay. Okay, so let's talk about a discovery flight. In this flight, you're going to learn. I try to introduce in discovery flights everything you're going to want to do in this airplane, which includes navigation, takeoffs, landings, following a flight plan. Entering a flight plan will be later, but we got a VOR here, and let me show you the ILS that we're going to fly. Okay, so here's the ILS. It's ILS or localizer runway 4 into Greenville. The localizer frequency is 109.3, and that's in the, you can see right here 109.3 is the standby frequency for the nav, and the inbound course is 038. We want to be at 3,000 feet as we come inbound, and when we intercept the glide slope, and we get to the final approach fix here, we'll probably be around 2,300 feet. We probably will intercept the glide slope before we get to the final approach fix. And our minimums is 201, clear day, that won't matter. We'll turn the autopilot off. We'll fly the glide slope down to 500 feet, maybe a little less, and we'll see. Okay, so that's an approach, and just off to our right here, that's the Greenville Downtown Airport, and we're passing that. That would be a quick diversion if we had to, I guess. Probably even quicker just to go back to Greenville Spartanburg. Right out here, you can see the Donaldson Center Airport, and on the multifunction display, that's right here is the Donaldson Center Airport. We're just now passing the downtown airport. And let's see, we can look back there, we can look back here. There's a runway we just left. And you'll notice here that I have, I use buttons on a numeric keypad to change my views. Looking out to the this side here, there's a better view of the downtown airport. Some of the other views I have a view for landing. This gives me a view of the runway as it's coming in, so I can judge my height above the ground, and I can still see all the instruments and controls and everything I need. And this is just my standard view, so I can see everything, all the Garmin panels. And I also have a view down here to view the trim and all the other controls. Setting up views in X-Plane are very important, and you have to sort of plan those out. I'll have several videos about doing that for the Diamond DA40. Each airplane has a different set of views. You have a profile for this airplane, and that profile is unique to this airplane, and if you set something here, it won't bother any other airplane that you may have in X-Plane. Normally I would, if we were going somewhere, I'd probably pull the RPM lever back to 2300. I'm just going to leave it where it is. On final, about a mile or two from final, I'll actually move that up to full RPM. And the purpose of the fact that you use the prop constant speed or variable pitch, they're called both, because the prop lever controls the speed, and you're maintaining your power level through the inches of mercury on this dial, which is a control of the pitch of the prop. Okay, we're getting close. This Diana here is the final approach fix into Donaldson, and it is an NDB, but we're getting closer. So you can see how far away we are. I actually like to see that better over here. So we are a distance of 7.3 miles, and that's the bearing to it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to change my heading over to 219. Okay. And we're right on course. If you look over here, the airplane is slightly to the outside. That's what I actually wanted to do. Donaldson Field down there is a nice field. There is an ILS in it, but there is no um, approach lights, no PAPI lights or VASI lights um, to help you with a visual glide slope as you fly in. All right. It's probably a good time to slow down. Um, I'm going to pull the RPM of the blue lever back to 2300, right about there. I'm going to pull this back to about 16 or 17, and we're going to slow down to below um, to about 90 knots. You can see right here the white tape. The white tape right here is the point at which you can put your flaps down, and I want to get the airspeed down below that. So we're shooting for about 90 knots of airspeed, and we've got about 3.5 miles to go. All right. It's not going down as fast as I like, so I'm going to pull the throttle back a bit more and let the airspeed. I want to get down to 90 knots before I start my turn. I'm going to pull the power back and then push it back in when we get to 90. I'm not going to put a flap lever down until I've intercepted the glide slope. Intercepted the localizer at least, and I know I'm on, everything's working. Okay. 2.0 distance to the NDB Diana. Airspeeds are right now at 90. I'm going to push the throttle back up to about 14 inches of manifold pressure. There we go. And that maybe a little less. I want to hold right around 90 knots. And the manifold pressure is a very good indication and can control fairly precisely the speed of the aircraft. There we are. 89 is just fine. Okay, we're about a mile out, and this is a sharp turn. I'm going to go ahead and start my turn. There we go. To 072. Okay, there's 072. Right there on the primary flight display. So we're turning to 072. It's also time to change the frequency here. Let me go back to here. We're going to change the frequency to the standby frequency, which is the ILS. Okay, so we've got GSP. It's locked on. That's the distance to the GSP now. And we'll be using that a great deal in a minute. Okay, so now that we have, I'm going to explain how we're coming into an ILS here. The heading is controlling where I'm going, and the altitude is being held by this. Now that we've got about a 40 kind of degree intercept right here to the localizer, and it's tuned in because this is saying that it is on, I can change it from heading to nav. Okay, so I can just hit the nav button over here, or I have a button, but I'll try hitting the nav button, see if that works. So I'm going to hit nav, and now you see that this changed to localizer. Okay, So now this says localizer. I hit the nav button here, and I'm not sure we're receiving the glide slope, but we likely are. But now the heading is going to control the direction until the heading turns off automatically and the localizer um, locks in. And what that really means is the localizer here is now within this range coming inbound. And we'll watch for that. Okay, airspeed still holding right where I want it. When we get to the localizer, we'll have, I don't know, 12 miles to go, maybe a little bit more. In that range, let's see. Let me look at where'd it go? There we are. So this says 12.9 miles at Oxbay. That's all I'm looking for. Okay. And we're almost there. Okay, notice the heading went away and now localizer is controlling the turning. Airspeed is looking good. Engine instruments all look good. And we're about to start our turn. So you can see this. As this gets fairly close, it'll turn and intercept the localizer. As it does so, I like to look out here, see if I see when I see the runway. There goes the turn. Autopilots in this airplane are fairly accurate. Okay. And so right straight out there is the runway. It's 12 miles out. There it is right there. So we got a ways to go. Okay, so we are 13 miles out and we're 6.9. Let's see here. Okay, we're 6.8 miles to the final approach fix. At about 3 miles on this, I'm going to put my first click of flaps down. Maybe 4. We'll see. Now, when I put the flaps down, the autopilot has to adjust. Okay. Actually, I'll probably put it down. Well, let me go ahead and put it down now. I'll put my first click of flaps on, and I'm going to actually show you. You can watch my flap lever over here, and you will see how the autopilot reacts to the change. Okay. So first it's going to put the flap down. One click goes down. There goes the flap. The nose goes up. That's caused by the flap. The autopilot finally corrects and will come back down to the altitude I want. And so we're going to descend back down to 3,000 feet and then level off again. That's just how it works. Okay, notice my airspeed is decreasing rapidly. I'm actually going to raise the throttle to try to hold about 75 to 80. 80 there, coming down a little bit. I'll touch the power in to hold somewhere between 75 and 80. Okay, now we're watching another thing here. What's going to happen is there's a little green thing right here that the glide slope is going to start coming down. When that starts coming down, I want to put the second click of flaps in. So we'll be watching for that. Now you can clearly see the airport out there. I'll go ahead and push the power up a little bit. It's going below 75, so I'm going to touch the power up a little bit more. I'm going to need more power anyways as soon as I put the second click of flaps in. All right, so here comes the glide slope. It's starting to fall. I'm going to go ahead and put the second click of flaps in so the airplane can stabilize before we get to the glide slope. So I'm going to let that come down. Right now I'm going to try to hold between 65 and 70 knots. We'll let the airplane stabilize. There's 67. We'll add a bit more power. 67, 68 will be just fine right there. Okay, a little green ball is dropping right here, and as soon as it hits to this point here, the autopilot will intercept that glide slope and start about a 500 foot per minute rate of descent. As it does that, the power will have to come back to compensate. Notice the heading bug over here is off there doing nothing. I like the heading bug to be right on the runway heading again. Right there. In that case, if I have to go around, I'll have to turn the localizer and autopilot off, and I may want to use the heading bug on a go around. Okay, here we come. Localizer's being intercepted. Oop, I didn't hit the right button. Wait a minute, I have to hit the approach button. Right here. Approach button, there we go. Now the glide slope's intercepted. I was supposed to hit that before we got to the final approach fix. That's all right. The glide slope um, will still be intercepted. It'll just descend a little faster until the little green ball comes back up to even here. That's even right there. Okay, so now 65 to 70 airspeed, and as I get closer down final, actually be about 63 to 60 on short final. Okay, the best indication of how far away we are is this IGSP nautical miles, because that's measured from the end of the runway, where this up here is measured from the middle of the airport. So I'm watching this right here to say how far away we are. So we're about 6.7 miles out there. So got a little below 60, power back in, and power right back off a little bit to hold 63. Okay, this is telling me I'm going to be at the final approach fix now. We're not changing anything, but we just hit Moldy and we're going into GSP. Okay, so obviously we intercepted the glide slope before the final approach fix. Okay, now it's time to control the airspeed a little more precisely. What that really means is you add the airspeed much more frequently in your cross check. So I'm going to let the airspeed come down to about 63 and push the power back up to make sure I stay above 60. Okay, we're right on glide slope, and you can see the PAPI lights right there. There's 4 PAPI lights. Looks right now to be 2 white and 2 red, which means we're right on glide slope. Okay, 61 on airspeed, power up just slightly. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn. Okay, that's my 4th light telling me I'm on 2-mile final. And I don't know why this says 4.9, but it's not. That's a 2-mile final. I'm not sure why that's that way. It may be reading the same thing as the other one. No, it's not either. Okay. So we're on a 2-mile final. When I get closer to about 500 feet above the ground, in other words, the runway is about 1950, so 1450 on the altitude is about 500 feet above the ground. The 4th light will tell me 500 feet, but I'm going to probably turn the autopilot off just before then. Okay, airspeed back up to 60. I'm going to try to hold as close to 60 as I can right here. Okay, final checks. You can see down here the flaps are down. Okay, all engine instruments are in the green. Autopilot is coming off soon. And that means I want to go to this position to better see everything for landing. All right, I'm going to turn the autopilot off now. Okay. You probably don't have to change. There's 500 feet. 4th flight just told me 500 feet. So I'm not going to change too much. I'm going to make sure my heading stays aligned. I want to make sure my airspeed stays at just above 60. So 62 is fine. Heading is aligned. So when we get ready to flare, the pullback of the power on the throttle is fairly slow. This is the point at which I'm going to put the blue lever all the way forward. And you can see that pushing the blue lever all the way forward didn't change anything too much. But if I have to go around now, I've got all full RPMs of the engine. Okay, I got 3 red VASI lights, so I'm a little bit low, but not by much. Pulling it up a little, pulling my nose up a little bit, keeping 60 knots of airspeed, aiming down the runway. I got one hand on the yoke, my other hand's on the throttle. All right. And it's true that once you get ready to flare, you look down the end of the runway. Okay, I'm going to start pulling the power back just slowly. Beginning my flare. Okay, put the nose wheel down so I can steer better. And come back to the center of the runway. I'm going to let it roll to a stop, and I'm going to put the brakes on. Okay, you can see right here, there's a brake light. You should always check to make sure that brake light is off. I did, forgot to mention it. But the brake light needs to be off when you are landing. Otherwise, you're going to blow a tire maybe. Okay, that was a fun flight. Let's see, that was 30 minutes and 23 seconds. I'm going to stop the clock. So a nice 30-minute flight. That's a good introductory flight. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching my YouTube channel. Stay tuned for a lot more videos about the Diamond DA40.